Good morning. I'm Mr. Oz. Oh, thank you. And I'm not the head of school. Sometimes I impersonate him. Uh, but today I want to talk about a couple things. I'm really happy to see everybody here today, Monday morning, smiling faces. It's going to be a great week. We only have, is it 5? Did you know that? 5 school weeks left. So that is unreal. 5 school weeks left. Okay. This week we have a lot of stuff happening, and we have, as you already mentioned, the Lieutenant Governor coming. Now this person, Ben, I'm sorry, Ben, you distract me. Thank you. The Lieutenant Governor comes, and you might not know what the job of the Lieutenant Governor is. You might not know who she is. That's okay. She's going to explain all that, and it's an opportunity for you guys to meet somebody that is a pretty important political figure in British Columbia and in federal Canada. And it's a good chance for you to ask a couple questions. So what I'd like you to do is think about, what would you ask the Lieutenant Governor when she comes? What would you like to know about her role, Canadian politics, where she sees British Columbia in that role? So it's a great opportunity for us to sort of get some words right from the person who knows best. So think about that, and I would challenge you to have some good questions. And remembering that this is a pretty big event. I'm sure this dignitary doesn't come every day to schools like this, so having her here is an honor. So I'm really pleased to have that opportunity. Secondly, we have starting tomorrow some guests coming from an online professional development company, and they're coming to film some of our teachers because, hey, let's face it, we have really good teachers and we have really good students. And what this company is doing is they're filming some examples of teaching in action with our teachers and our students. They're not here to film all of our kids. They're just here to film certain subjects. So when they came in, they said, hey, we want to see certain teachers doing certain subject areas. So those classes have already been selected based on the timetable. If your class is being filmed, you already should know that, right? You should already know that your teachers will have told you, hey, by the way, on Thursday during Block 4, we're having a film company come in. No pressure. All you got to do, regular classes. They're not putting you on, they're not testing you. It's just an example of a classroom being taught by a teacher. You are permitted to wear a casual if you're being filmed, only if you're being filmed on that day. Okay, so if you have any questions about what that's going to look like, you can talk to me. You can talk to your teacher because they will have given you those release forms, correct? So if your teacher gave you a release, you need to give that release back to your teacher, or you can't come in casual clothes for that day. Okay. So that's going to be really fun. They're here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I would ask you, of course, I don't really, it goes without saying, I would ask you to make sure that you are demonstrating your best studentry, because your teachers are putting their best efforts to make that class worthwhile to somebody who might be trying to learn from it. Lastly, May 1st, today is the start of our annual Healthiest Month. Now, you might say, Mr. Oz, when does it end if it's a Healthiest Month? Because today is the 1st of May. And a logical answer would be, well, when does the Healthiest Month end if it starts today? Stephen, you don't know? Logan, Healthiest Month, when should it end? Give the man a prize. The end of the month. It should be the end of the month. Yes, that was. It should. Now, here's the thing. You would think that would be the case, because a month should end at the end of the month because it's the first day today, but you'd be wrong, because Healthiest Month goes from today to the 18th of May. But of course, we like to do things a little different here. But for the next 3 weeks, we have planned a certain number of activities that are going to take place, not every day, but during the course of the week, to help us focus on an element of health. And in the past, we've done things like eating healthy. We've done things like using effective screen time. We've done things like making good choices. What we're going to focus on this year is the theme of relationships. And as we know, high school, certainly in grade 7 and running all the way through grade 12, it's a great time for building relationships. It's a time for learning how painful relationships can be when they don't work out. It's a time when we learn how many challenging choices you have with regards to being a member of society. So what we want to focus on for the next 3 weeks are 3 different elements of healthy relationships. And the first thing we want you to think about is having a healthy relationship with yourself. Knowing a little bit about who you are, knowing what makes yourself happy, what makes you tick, figuring out how to look at yourself and see what's actually there and be happy with that. So that's the first sort of theme that we want you thinking about. The second theme has to do with your relationships that you forge with other individuals that are around you. So how you deal with your peer group, how you deal with your friends, the people that are in grades up and above you or below you, or your community, your parents, the world around you. So thinking about relationships with others. And the final theme, the third week, we'll be talking a little bit about relationships with the world around us and the choices that that brings with it. And that's the opportunity for you to say, hey, look at what's your relationship with choices? What's your relationships with the peer pressures that go on in the world? And how can you hopefully make wise choices with regards to that? So those are the 3 things we're going to talk about. And during this time frame, we're going to have a few speakers. We're going to have a few opportunities for good leadership opportunities for some of the older kids with some of the younger grades. We're going to have some opportunities for us to do some mentor groups, which have you have an opportunity to talk about some of the issues that face you. And we're going to have a chance for some of those town hall discussions to take place where people will share where they feel their most interesting or questions are surrounding relationships. So that's going to go on for the next 3 weeks, and your homeroom teachers will know a little bit more about that, and you'll find it as it develops, because it isn't going to take place every day, but it is going to be a theme we want to develop. To start this, we have a guest speaker who's come in from UBC. He's a graduate of Aberdeen Hall. You probably know and remember him because he's a big, tall lad. Was the goalie for our senior soccer team and the center on our basketball team for several years. He's a fantastic student. He's studying science down at UBC, going to go into kinesiology. But he's also got some really good stories for us to hear about his relationship with himself and what he's learned over the course of the last few years about life and himself, I guess. So I want you guys to give us a round of applause for Nick Reitsma, who's joined us today to speak.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nick. Lots of familiar faces, lots of faces that I haven't seen before. Like Mr. Oz said, I started going to Aberdeen in grade 10, played soccer for the school, played basketball for the school, was on the student council, did a lot of things. And that's the person that I like to tell everyone. Me trying hard in school, getting good grades, being athletic. But the truth is, one thing that I don't tell everyone is that I have depression. I first started having thoughts of depression and overbearing sadness when I was 10 years old. At that time, I was living in Houston, Texas, so I wasn't even in Canada. I was a Boy Scout. I played soccer still. I was still doing well in school, trying my hardest. And then one day, all the happiness that I felt and all of the proudness or the pride that I felt in all of my accomplishments and whatever that I did, it just sort of shut off. Those feelings of happiness that a 10-year-old should feel and that everyone deserves to feel just weren't there. And I didn't know why. As a 10-year-old, you start to question, why am I even here? Why am I on earth? Why am I living? Why am I doing all of this if all the things that I like doing and all the accomplishments that I make don't give me some value in myself? And that carried on for, I say, 8 months. During that time, I started seeing a counselor. My parents were luckily proactive enough to sort of see the problem, and I was able to talk to them and let them know how I was feeling. So I went and saw a counselor, and for that remaining 8 months, went about once a week, and things got better. And we sort of put it in the past. And I thought that it would never happen again, that those feelings would never come back, and that I was fixed. A couple years go by, and my parents tell me that we're moving to Canada. My dad's changed his job. Everything's going to be new. We're moving to a small place called Kelowna with 100,000 people. never heard of the place in my life, and I'm just going to leave everything that I've worked for in Houston. I'm going to leave my soccer team. I'm going to leave my new friends that I've switched schools 3 times in the last 3 years. I'm going to leave everything that I felt familiar with and all the things that I was actually proud of at that time. When I come here, I understand that it's a beautiful place. I mean, you can look out the window and you can see that. But the feelings that I had as an 8th grader still came back. All I thought about after I moved was all the things that I didn't have and all of the things that had changed. And I couldn't get over that. I just kept on thinking of my life in Houston, the life that I had, not the life that I was living, not all the blessings that I had, the blessings that I had. But I didn't want anyone to know, especially at school. I came to school and I tried to be the charismatic, funny, active person that a lot of you hopefully know me for. I put on a mask when I was at school. I didn't let anyone know. I put on a mask when I was at home, to be frank. Those feelings of sadness, they manifested. They compounded on each other. They grew up because there wasn't an outlet for me to get that out of my system. Got considerably worse and worse and worse and worse over time. And still I started to contemplate suicide. I was 16 years old when I first started thinking about suicide. And for a year, it was probably one of the most common thoughts in my brain. Scary thought for sure, and I knew that, but it only felt like the only solution. The only way that all my troubles could go away, that everything would become better. I wouldn't have to worry about all the things that were making me sad and that I wasn't getting enjoyment from. But I didn't. Those thoughts continued till one day it hit the ceiling. Locked myself in my bathroom, and for the first and only time, I self-harmed. This was all within the first year of living in Kelowna. So I was in grade 10 at Aberdeen, here, and I self-harmed. And at that point, I sort of understood that I needed help, and that it's something that I couldn't bottle up, and it's something that I couldn't fix by myself. That I needed to tell my parents, but I didn't know how. Fortunately enough, I sort of hinted to my mom that I did need help and that there was something going on. She understood and she realized. We cried, and immediately after that, I started seeing another counselor here. I've been seeing that counselor for the last 3 years. Progressively, I see her less and less often, but it's something that it's something that doesn't end. You're always growing, you're always learning. All your experiences that are happening throughout your life, they're teaching you new things about yourself. One day when I was going to that counselor, I was, for some reason, I don't know why, but I was incredibly early. I was probably 35 minutes before my appointment. And I see someone from Aberdeen walking out. Somebody from a school, somebody in my grade at Aberdeen walking out. A grade of 33 people, 2 people are going to see the same counselor within 35 minutes of each other. I thought I was alone. But yet, one of my friends is going through the exact same thing. Maybe not the exact same thing, but having the same problems, seeing the same person. I wasn't alone. And that's when it hit in for me. Fast forward a couple years to now, I get the opportunity to speak for the Foundry, which is the Kelowna General Hospital's foundation for building social initiatives. And their slogan is "Not Alone." That idea of going through challenges in your life, whether it be mental, whether it be something else, whether a family member passed away, whether it be challenges at school, not knowing what you're going to do, you're not alone. When I talked to Mr. Oz, I said, I did this speech, I spoke with the Foundry, I'd really like to come to Aberdeen. It's like, okay. So we have this theme, for Healthiest Month, and it's relationships with yourself. So it's like, okay, I can swing that. I can swing my story a little bit. When I thought about it, I didn't have to swing it at all. All of my experiences are based around understanding who I am, understanding the things that I can't change, understanding the things that I can change, and being happy with those things. Unfortunately, mental health illnesses are often things that we can't change alone. Whether it be medication, whether it be seeing a counselor, whether it be talking to someone, there's no way to push those feelings aside without them being detrimental to you and your happiness. Over this time, if anyone's going through these challenges, the key is reflection and honesty with yourself, with your parents, with your peers. But with this idea of relationships with yourself, you have to understand that there are some things about you that you cannot change. There are things that no matter how hard you try, you still cannot change, and there's no way that they're going to go away. At that time, you have to be okay. Depression is part of my identity now. It's made me stronger. All of the experiences that I've had, all of the lessons that I learned, by reflecting on them, I understand how to they're applicable to other situations in your life. All of the challenges that you go through now will help you define you as you go through life. And it's weird coming from an 18-year-old who really doesn't have that much more life experience than you guys. But I spend a lot of time thinking about life. I spend a lot of time thinking by myself, which is something that a lot of us don't do enough. When you think by yourself, you're having a conversation with yourself. You're understanding yourself. It's an underrated thing. And something that, like I said, not a lot of people do. Your relationship with yourself is the most foundational relationship you have in your life. If you are not happy with yourself and do not understand what makes you happy, and that you are happy, everything else doesn't work. During that year, during my grade 10 year, my parents were there, but I wasn't really with them. I wouldn't talk to them. I tried to keep my feelings inside. My relationship with my family suffered because I didn't truly understand who I was. It's difficult. It's very difficult. There's a statistic that 1 in 5 Canadians suffer from some form of mental illness. 1, 2, 3, 4, depression. 1, 2, 3, 4, anxiety. Look at your friends next to you. You count 1, 2, 3, 4. And the 5th person has something wrong. You could be that one person. You could be that one person who I was in grade 10, who's bottling it up, who has a mask on, who's not telling the truth, who hasn't reflected and said that I need help. Honesty with yourself is the most important thing. I can't stress that enough. Because whoever you are, you're loved. You're cared about. And you deserve to not be alone. Thank you.
Hang on. So Nicholas, as an alumni, we want to have you walking around UBC. Here's an Aberdeen Hall backpack that you can wear and rep the brand. So thank you so much for sharing your story. It was definitely very powerful, and we appreciate that. Thank you. So I want to, just closing off today, I really value Nick's message and the idea of the importance of your relationship with who you are and being happy with what you see. And it does get better. And you're not alone. And if you're having moments of fear or anxiety or doubt or just not feeling happy, there are lots of people who care about you who want to know. You might not just see it. Talk to your parents. Talk to your teachers. Talk to your friends. But whatever you do, don't bottle it up, because things don't get better if you don't look to make them better. And it will, because you're not alone. Okay. I'd like you guys to spend a day thinking about that. I thought that was a very powerful message, and I want you to think about that and remember that there's lots of opportunities for you to seek that, to share and to feel better about yourself. Okay. At this point, I'm going to dismiss everyone. I hope you have a great day and a wonderful week, and enjoy the rest of your Monday. So let's start off with, let's